right. Hello, everybody. Hope you all are doing well. This is DFS Army's NBA pre-lock show where, we're here to answer your questions. But first and foremost, we will go through these games, talk through the slate, and talk through sneaky guys that we think are a little under-owned and guys we might not like as much. And then after all of that, that's when I'll really answer your questions. But today we have the one and only B-Dub. Again, this guy has won multiple NBA DFS tournaments, 5-figure, 4-figure wins. How are you doing today, Brandon?
Doing good. Glad I can make it. I was rushing to make sure I can be here with you guys. So always good to be here with you.
Yep, appreciate it. I'm sharing my screen today, but still glad to be able to get some of your wisdom. Awesome call yesterday. That Chris Paul call, he crushed. He came through, made everybody some money. I played him like I told you all I would, but I was a little nervous, but it felt good to see him coming through for us at the end there. And then for me, I'm here as well. I've won multiple NBA DFS tournaments, couple 100K wins, and we're here to help you all out tonight. And we're looking at DFS Army's Optimizer. If you're interested in having exposure or being able to use the domination station, link is in the description. Feel free to use promo code BDUB, BDUBB for a 10% discount. But let's get to it. Starting off, we have the first game on the slate, Cavs versus the Pacers. Interesting game here in the sense of pretty high game total. The Cavs are looking pretty healthy. Ty Jerome's doubtful, but that doesn't really matter to us at all. For the Cavs tonight, who's standing out for you?
So usually we love playing teams against the Pacers. So naturally you think we would love this side of the ball, but as a whole, I really don't too much. It looks like we did the same thing. I did put a 15% min on Jared Allen. He's just playing really well and still fairly cheap and pretty soft matchup. Miles Turner isn't really anyone to be scared about on defense. I think this is still a spot he can do some damage, but I really couldn't get anywhere else. Y'all know I love Donovan Mitchell, but he just really hasn't been that guy lately. Like, he's been trash. You can make a case for Garland. He's been a bit more consistent than Mitchell. But I just like other guards a bit more than those two tonight. And then I think Mobley, you can always make a case for him too, but just not a fan of his price in this kind of spot.
Yeah. You weren't wrong. I thought you were being a bit dramatic on Mitchell, but I just looked and you were right. He's had a rough stretch, just to say the least. But Evan Mobley's viable. I thought about him for half a second, but there's just better plays on the slate. Garland, I get. The only thing I'm doing here, though, is I have a like on Jared Allen because the sim model liked him a little bit. And like Brandon mentioned earlier, matchup against the Pacers isn't one I'm usually trying to avoid. So I wanted to take a shot here. $6,600 Allen. Low ownership is just the shot that I'm looking to take. So I put a 15% min on him and a like. A little sneaky at low ownership. Good game total. I feel pretty good about it. So that's about it. And then when we look at the exposures down here, you see Allen showing up around 19%. And then that's about it. The one thing I'll call out now, just so no one asks about it later, you'll see that my my exposures, I don't really have very many players above 60% right now. That could change as we get news, but I just don't prioritize core plays that much, especially when there's a lot of guys I'm getting leverage on. This is kind of like the balancing act that I typically utilize. Am I getting good leverage? Do I have a strong core? Some slates, a strong core is more important than my leverage. Other slates like this one, I'm prioritizing my leverage a bit more. All right, next up we have the Pacers, and this is where we get a ton of injury news. We have Tyrese Halliburton out, Isaiah Jackson out, James Wiseman is out, Aaron Nesmith is out. The Halliburton news is really what matters here. I guess we can start off with Siakam. What do you do with him?
Nothing really. He's actually showing up around 20% for me, which I'm okay with. Without Hallie, I mean, everybody benefits on the team, but he definitely does. I think minus Hallie now, he's the next person who kind of has the highest upside on the team. So, not a fan of the matchup, of course, but 7,100 is still too cheap for what we know Siakam can do. So, definitely okay going there. I thought about Miles Turner, but didn't do anything with him. I just like other centers more. But I never mind taking shots on especially when he's low on Miles Turner. So I don't hate that play, but I just didn't get there. Matherin, you shouldn't really have to do anything to. He's a nice price. He's kind of volatile at times, but he's someone else who should benefit with Hallie out. So I'll be around field weight on him. And then you got the guards, Nimbard, McConnell, and Shepard. I want to make sure I have exposure to all three of those guys as well.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, this is a tough spot. First of all, I'll be honest. The Pacers are another one of those teams I just never like playing players from. They're in a brutal matchup against the Cavs, so I also don't love that. Let's see. What are you guys saying? What's up, Keith? Good to see you. Dixon said, Josiah, don't be fooled by this slate, bro. There's blowout landmines everywhere. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. There's some spots. Thank goodness Halabum is out, confirmed. Dixon said TJ McConnell is going to be 89% owned, going to flop because it's going to be a blowout, and he's not going to get the minutes he should if it stayed competitive. What are your thoughts on McConnell, Brandon? Are you worried about the blowout here?
Not really with McConnell.
Fair. And then let's see. What's up? Rodney, Harlock, Seymour, Pascal Siakam. Yeah, we're talking about him. I'll touch on what I'm doing there here soon. And then Dixon said, why is everyone running out for that bum Shepard? Did you touch on Ben at all, Brandon? What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I mean, he's not the most exciting play, of course, and he can definitely ruin your lines, but I think it's just the price, almost min price starter who should see 30 minutes. He's worth a shot to make lines work, in my opinion.
Yeah, low key, Ben Shepard is a cardio bro, not gonna lie, but he's starting, and at 3,200, that's a shot I'm willing to take. So we'll touch on that here soon. Let's see, what else are you all saying? Mo, what's up? William, Thomas. Yes, if you all could smash the like button. We haven't really gotten to too many of the sneaky plays yet, but we will here soon. We'll touch on Dayron, Cedric, Theo. What's up, y'all? I'll have to touch on some of these as we go throughout the show, but y'all are talking today. Good to see it. All right, for me, I like Pascal Siakam. He was standing out a little bit in the sim model, but not a ton. I'll show you what I mean. 7,100, we look at Pascal Siakam here in the sim. You look at the 6.5 column, 6.5x column for Pascal Siakam. It's kind of where he maxes out. It's good in comparison to some of the guys that he's around price-wise, like Giddey, Murray, Daniels, Avdia, Isaiah. And so that's why he's standing out as a solid sim model play. But you're still not seeing like that 7, 8x upside in the sim like you do for some of the other guys I like a bit more. So I just have a like on Pascal Siakam to see if he shows up a bit more because of that. And I have a like on Ben Shepard. Similar reason, sim model liked him. He's starting, should see minutes, but sucks. I still have a like on him to see if that makes the DS make him show up a bit more. And then I'm just going to trust the DS on whatever it wants to do with Turner, Matherin, Nimbard, McConnell. Because like I said, I don't love playing guys from this team typically. And so with that setup, Siakam is showing up in about 45% of my lines. Matherin, 41%. Shepard, 38%. So we're getting some decent leverage on all of these guys, but still not core plays. And then Nimbard, right around field percent. I might put a 25% min on him to force him to show up a bit more. And then Obi Toppin and TJ McConnell. Obi's right around field weight. McConnell's a little low. And so right now I don't feel like I have to force that exposure, but I am going back and forth on it. And then you see like Turner and Walker showing up a little bit too, but not enough to be dangerous. Like I said, the Pacers make sense, but I don't like the matchup. So it makes me a little nervous, so I'm not going to force it. Next up, we have the Thunder going up against the Sixers. The Thunder are basically healthy outside of the long-term injuries they've had. Are you looking at SGA? I feel like you've been taking that shot a good bit here recently.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm usually a broken record when it comes to SGA, and I always talk about I don't care what kind of spot he's in and blah blah blah. But tonight I actually didn't get to him. Not really getting to anybody on this team. I'm just not a fan of this game as a whole, and I think there's better spots tonight.
Yep. Lowest game total on the slate. Gigantic spread. You can take a one-off shot on like a SGA or a Jalen Williams if you really are just dying to have exposure here. But it's honestly not a spot I'm trying to get exposure to. Just like you said, Brandon, I didn't do anything to them in the DS, and they're not showing up for me at all.
Like if I thought this game could stay close, I would play them, but I just don't see it. Yeah. OKC's just been way too good.
Yeah, Buff says, I mean, even Philly, they haven't been a good team, but they just play at a slow pace, and they're a good defensive team, so it's not even like a matchup thing for me either. Other side of this game isn't that different, besides the fact that there's actual injury news. Joel Embiid is out. Caleb Martin's questionable. We did have the news that Tyrese Maxey was questionable pretty late, around 2:20, but then we got the news that he was at shoot-around and participated. He's still questionable, but I think most of us are assuming he's going to play at this point. Looks like you have a like on, or no, that's me. I have a like on PG. Do you like any of the Sixers tonight?
I was gonna say the only one I would consider would be Paul George, but I'm not getting there either. So no one on this side of the ball.
Yeah, the Thunder are one of the better defenses in the league. I had a like on Paul George, I believe, just when I was doing my sim model research. I always just put a like on guys that stand out a little bit, and he did. Stands out a touch, just like the last guy we talked about. Not enough to make me do anything, and he's not showing up at all with that like. So, again, not a game I'm trying to get exposure to, and it's the lowest total on the slate, so I feel even better doing that. Next up, we have a game I like a lot. We have the Suns going up against the Hawks. For the Suns, when it comes to the injury side of things, we are looking at Nurkic still being out, which puts us in the shitty center rotation for the Suns once again. But who are you looking at here?
So I usually pick one or the other, but when they're in spots like this, I play them both. So I have a 20% min on both KD and Booker. If I had to choose one, it would probably be Booker. He's just been playing a little bit better more recently than KD. And of course, we usually like to pick on Trey guards against Atlanta. We attack all the time. So if you don't want to play both, Booker would be my lean there. And then I do like Oso quite a bit. He's another guy that's not going to jump off the page and not the most reliable guy. But with Nurk still out and him being super cheap, play him at power forward, he's just somebody that I want to mix in my lines to make him work.
How much Oso do you have?
So I'm playing 20 max again, and it's probably going to make y'all throw up a bit, but I'm at 80%. He's a core play for me.
So I was going back and forth. If you were 150 maxing, would you have him as a core play still?
Most likely, just because I love this matchup as a whole and his price as well. I'd rather go there than Plumlee, so I'd say I don't know if I'd still have 80%, but he would be core or close to core if I was doing 150.
Okay. OG, what's up, man? We'll get there soon. Cujo, Cincy, the GOAT. Good to see you, man. I see your comment coming up, so we'll touch on it. If y'all don't know Cinematic, you're about to, or you should. Rodney said Paul play was for sure a good call. Agreed. Theo's asking Cincy where he finished last night in the 100K contest. It was good. So close, though. Mobley is the play, is what Dixon said. Need to switch my Army subscription from NFL to NBA. Yeah, you do, Seymour. Switch it over. We've been on a bit of a stretch. The one thing, I don't know if you feel this way, Brandon, but the one thing I hate about being on a good stretch is we know it's going to end at some point. And what always happens is when things have been going good, people are always like, Josiah, like, what's going on, man? Like, who are the plays? What are we doing? And you're getting all these people reaching out. And then as soon as you have a bad night, we know it's coming, they disappear for ages. And you never see them again until you get on another hot streak. And it's just all over again. But yes, Seymour, switch it over and you'll be in good hands. Trey and Bog are playing. Thank you. That's good news to have and makes Devin Booker even more viable. Cinematic said he finished in 5th place in the $100,000 tournament last night, was sitting at first for most of the late games, fell out in the last 2 minutes of the Heat game. Painfully close. But yeah, awesome. Let's hopefully you can make it up there again and get first. Thomas said no on Matherin. I get it. He's burned us a lot, man. I feel it. Let's see. Core plays on FanDuel, guys. It's Tuesday, so we won't just say core plays today because it's not a football day. I'll do that when there aren't as many people watching. But if you go to the website, you click on cheat sheets, you will see FanDuel discords from some of the coaches there. Appreciate that update, Don Juan. X Factor King said, Gridiron Beauty, Shaden Sharp, blah, 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 blah. There's a lot of words there. Don't know what you're going for. I'm going to fast forward through a few of these. When will the game time decision go away on FanDuel? Once you get that underdog notification, Mike, I really wouldn't think about it too much. And I agree, Gridiron. I am loving that game. But for me, when it comes to the Suns-Hawks, I like Devin Booker, just like you, Brandon. He's the one I'm prioritizing here. I didn't do anything else to these guys besides put a 3% min on Bradley Beal. He's not the most consistent guy. He's not the guy that you should feel good about clicking on, but he's someone I'm comfortable putting a 4% min on because he does have upside in the highest or second highest total game on the slate and one of the softer matchups going up against the Hawks. Booker, like we said, guards against the Hawks. I do that every single time. And then that's it. The DS did put Oso in a ton of my lines. I didn't like the idea of having him as a core play on this slate. Let me look a little bit closer at it for half a second. Make sure I'm not missing anything. I don't know. I just hate seeing a guy play 30 minutes and only scoring 20 fantasy points against Charlotte. That's just never a feel-good reason for me or a feel-good thing. So I'm going to keep my 30% cap on him. I just don't want that much. I think I'll do like 35 just to allow a little bit more. He is only 3,500. He's stupid cheap. We don't have a lot of value on this slate, so he makes sense. So 30% min on Booker, 4% min on Beal, and 35% cap on Oso. And then no one else shows up. Not even KD. Are you going to force exposure to KD at all, Brandon, or no?
Yep, I did. 20%.
20%. Yeah, for me, I think he's just someone, if you're 150 maxing, who should be... that's not true. There's a lot of studs on this slate who I like a good bit. And one I'm going to need to force a bit more exposure to. So I'm not going to force KD if he's not going to show up naturally. All right, for the Hawks side of things, we have Jalen Johnson out, and then we also have Larry Nance out. Buffkin's been out, Cody Zeller, and then we did get the news that Bogdan and Young are both going to play, so that makes things a little bit easier from that lens. Again, another solid spot for the Hawks. Who are you looking at here?
I consider Trey, but I'm usually not a fan of him when he starts hitting that 10K range.
Yeah.
I like 9K Trey way more, but at that ownership, I wouldn't blame you if you wanted to play him as a sneaky guy who has good upside, especially if his shot is falling. He can definitely get you 60 plus points. So not going there. I do like both Okongwu and Capella quite a bit. I like Okongwu a bit more, but the fact that Capella's price just continues to drop, in this kind of matchup, all for playing both of those guys. I think it was the Hornets last game. We just saw Mark Williams like demolish this front court. So I think this is a nice spot for both these guys with Nurkic still out.
Yeah.
And then I have some Bogdanovich and Krejci mixed in as well. Just some more value mixed in.
And Harlock is a DFS Army member. What's up, man? Said Tyus has been bad lately. Any chance he is successful against the Hawks? Do you have any thoughts on that, Brandon? Tyus from the Suns.
Yeah, I can't do Tyus. He's just a little too volatile at the moment. He hasn't really been good at all. So we have better plays around his price.
Yeah. Tyus is just a low usage guy, not a guy that you usually look at when it comes to DFS unless there's quite a few guys injured. What's your highest exposure on a core play for 150 max? Tonight, it's around 99% with De'Aaron Fox for now. Agreed. Let's see. Yeah, Bradley Beal's a little enticing for me, 12 forward. Just a little bit. He just hasn't been good enough to really find ways to vocalize why you should speak for him. But it's just a soft matchup, and he's priced okay, so I just took a shot on him. We'll touch on that Wyatt towards the end. Let's go, OG. I see you, man. Yeah, you have won your fair share this year. Let's make it keep going. All right, for me, when it comes to the Hawks, I just let the DS do its thing outside of capping some exposure to some guys I just don't trust as much. Those two guys being Okongwu and Capella. When they're both below 5K, we've seen it before where they both can make a tournament-winning lineup. I still just don't trust them. The matchup is great going up against the Suns without Nurkic, but I put a 60% cap on Capella and a 50% cap on Okongwu. I'm still going to be significantly over the field. I just didn't want them showing up in every single line when we know how easy it can be for them to burn us. How much Capella and Okongwu are you getting to?
I have 65% Okongwu and 40 on Capella.
Okay, so we're not really that far off. Not too much. And then let's see. And then I have a little bit of Vit showing up. I did put a 40% cap on him. He was also showing up as if he was a core play, which I would have been okay with if Trae Young was out. But with that not being the case, it didn't really feel right. So I put that 40% cap there. And then Bogdanovich is showing up in about 15% of my lines. And that's about it. All right, next up, we have my favorite game of the slate. We have the Pelicans going up against the Bulls. For the Pelicans, we have Zion back in action once again. Brandon Ingram is still out, and Herb Jones is out. You taking a shot on Zion, or who do you like here?
So it's funny because we did the same exact thing again. So when I saw this game at first, before even like diving in, I was like, oh yeah, like I'm definitely attacking this. And then I saw the ownerships, and I was like, is this right? And I was like, okay, I'll take it. Like the highest game total on the slate, and no one is above 5%. Well, I guess Murray is slightly over 5, but it's just crazy to me. So he's probably my favorite on this team, DeJounte. So I didn't go quite as high, but I have a 15% min on him. And then CJ McCollum is my next favorite, 10% min on him. So those two are the better plays on this side of the ball. I thought about Zion for a second, but couldn't do it.
Yeah.
he hadn't even been playing over 30 minutes yet either. So maybe if he was cheaper, I'd consider him, but couldn't get there.
Yeah, his minutes have not been there. He's barely been playing. He's looked good while he's been out there. He's been looking good,
Yep.
but I can't take that shot just yet. The one thing I will say is this is the highest total game on the slate. We love seeing the Bulls on a slate because we know that's a game we can target. The Pelicans are also not a great defensive team, and so this is just a really good DFS environment. And the total or spread is super close. And so, as long as that is actually the case and this game does go back and forth, we should be in a really good spot. And like you said, Brandon, the ownership is outrageous. So, Murray is the focal point for me here. I have a 20% minimum on him. And then CJ McCollum, super sneaky, super low owned at 1% ownership. 7,500 is a little pricey, but again, the matchup is so soft. We can't really trust McCollum, really, but I like him a lot here, so he's going to be a priority for me. And then that's pretty much all I did. And I put a like on CJ as well because Simado liked him. And then let's see here. For the Pelicans, we have CJ, and then
Maxey is ruled out.
Tyrese, of course he is. And then Murray's at 20%. So, yeah, that's going to make the Sixers worth revisiting potentially. Matchup is still tough against the Thunder, but we'll see. The Bulls are another team I like a good bit. A little bit tougher to really figure out who you want to pull the trigger on. But Chicago, we have Kobe White listed as questionable. Ayo's questionable. Did we get that news yet? Did I miss it?
I don't think I saw that yet.
Okay. So, yeah, we have Ayo and White listed as questionable. And then outside of that, we have Craig out, who's been out for a while. You taking any shots on these guys?
Yep. So it's kind of like a reflex, like muscle memory to like just look at Levine and just say, yeah, I'm not playing him. But when you actually like dig in and kind of see how he's been playing, like he's actually been playing really well lately. So again, his ownership is a bit higher than some of the other guys we mentioned, but still fairly low to where you can get decent leverage. So I do have a 20% min on him just due to the matchup, like we said. And then I really, really thought about Vooch. I say it all the time, like Missy isn't really someone to worry about on defense. And like every time I say that, like somebody smashes against him. So I'm not ruling him out. I'm still on the fence with him. If I was 150 and he'd be a for sure play, but like I said, I'm just a little more selective in my 20 max, but I'm definitely okay with him if you're trying to look for someone else who has sneaky upside. And then another honorable mention that I'm not sure I'll get to is Jalen Smith. He was a leverage play for me last game and smashed. He's still very cheap, and this dude is just like a points per minute beast. I say it every time. He's still too cheap for what he can do. If he, the only issue I have with him is he usually plays 14 to 15 minutes a game, so it's kind of concerning what he can do in that time frame. But he's somebody where if he like saw at least 20 minutes, like I'd be way over the field on. So if I was 150, and I'll for sure have him. But again, not sure if I'll get there in 20 max.
What's his deal? Do you know? Like, why does he never play?
I have no idea. I always wonder that too, like, because when he sees the minutes, he's a beast. So, like, why not play him more? Like, take some minutes away from some of these other forwards. Like, they have a crap ton of forwards that they throw in their rotation. Just cut off someone else and give him more minutes because he's solid when he's healthy. So, I don't understand.
Yeah, that makes no sense to me. Appreciate the call out, Real Fred Major. We will touch on that when we go back around at the end of the show. For me, when it comes to the Bulls tonight, I love Zach LaVine for every single reason you mentioned. His ownership is creeping up as we get closer to lock. So I had a 20% min, now I have a 25% min on him. Like I said, great game environment, too low owned. Vucevic, 10% min on him. technically a leverage play. Great matchup, great spot. And again, I'm trying to find reasons to play guys in this game. And so that's kind of how I got there. I didn't like the spot as much for Giddey or White. You can make a case, but I couldn't get on board with those. And then that's pretty much it for guys that are showing up for me from this game. Anyone else you want to touch on before we go to the next one?
Nope.
Sweet. All right. For the Kings going up against the Bucks. The Kings are missing Malik Monk, which is pretty big. We're expecting Keon Ellis to start in this spot. Who are you playing here?
De'Aaron Fox, I think, is the obvious play, especially without Monk. I like him even more at this price. And we talk about guards against his team as well. So Fox will be a core play for sure. I do like Keon Ellis quite a bit with Monk out. He can be volatile at times, but I'd say overall, whenever he gets more minutes when somebody's out, he's usually pretty solid. So I do like him as another value play. And then I considered Sabonis, but just didn't get there with some of the other centers on the slate. So I wouldn't tell you not to play him, but I just didn't get there. And then I think that might be it. I had a little bit of Keegan Murray showing up, but he's not really a priority for me.
Yeah, that center position is getting tough. It's been tough for years, but I just feel like every year it's just getting tougher and tougher. So you have to pick your battles. We can't play everybody, so I'm right there with you on Sabonis. I got it. I just couldn't get there. Fox, I was playing him before the Monk news, and I'm playing him with the Monk news. He sees the highest increase in usage. Fox does. Fox burns us sometimes, but in these soft matchups, that's when I'm willing to play him a bit more. The Bucks have been improving defensively as we get further into the season, but they're still struggling against guards, and so Fox should be able to have his way in this spot. He's in the vast majority of my lines. As you can see, I have a like on Ellis, Herter, Carter. These are just guys that stood out for me in the sim model. I had a 25% cap on Ellis, but his ownership creeped up. So now I have a 40% cap. Again, he can be a bit volatile. There's quite a few value options on this slate. And so I like having a bit of a rotation. There's not one value play where I'm like, this is the stand I want to take. I like having a bit of a mixture here on this one. So that's why I have a 40% cap. So he's not showing up in 99% of my lines. And let's see. When we look at actual exposures, you see Fox showing up in pretty much every line. You see Ellis, that's going to go up a bit. Trey Lyles is showing up in about 19% of my lines. I'm okay with that. I didn't do anything to make that happen. He's just another value piece that I'm comfortable with. I would prefer Ellis, Herter, or Carter just because Monk is out, so they have a little bit of a better situation than they typically do, but I'm not going to X out Lyles. What's your thought process here?
Yeah, I actually have 5% showing up. Of course, it isn't as much since I'm doing 20 lines, but I'm okay with having him in the mix, just as long as he's not showing up like a crazy amount.
Exactly. All right, and then for the Bucks going up against the Kings, Chris Middleton, we already got that news that he's out. Gary Trent Jr. is questionable. Nothing too relevant here. What Buck are you looking at, or are you looking at any outside of Giannis?
Yeah, I was going to say Giannis is kind of obvious. I'm not as high on him for a particular reason that's coming up next game, but I will be around field weight. And then I had some Dame showing up around 15%, but it looks like he kind of fell off as I kept running. So I don't think I'm going to force him in. I usually like him a bit more when Giannis is out. So I'm not really going to make him a priority, especially when we have De'Aaron Fox at $200 cheaper than him. So not saying that I don't like the play, just not a priority. And then, I can't get down with any of these other guys.
Yeah, it looks like we got the news that DeAndre Hunter is out. Gary Trent Jr. is out. Ao Dawsonumo is out. So those are some mixed in there. That Ao one, I don't think I was fully expecting. Were you?
Nope.
Yeah. Well, he was questionable. It doesn't impact too much with Ao getting out, but it does solidify just kind of like that guard rotation and their minutes. So that's interesting. Really just makes me like the Bulls guys even more. And I'm kind of thinking through maybe taking a shot on Kobe White a little bit more than I was, but he was questionable, so I don't think we've gotten that news yet. No, he'll play. Okay.
Yeah,
He'll play.
him and Lonzo are in.
Yeah, so I don't hate that shot on Kobe. I might just have to come back to it though. And then appreciate that, Dixon. Jules, you like the bonus? All right, man. I see you. Hopefully it'll come through for you. All right. For me, I did like Gary Trent Jr. It was more of like a sim-model play than anything. Sim-model just liked him. No one else really stood out for me here. I have a 60% exposure maximum on Giannis just because without that 60% max, he was showing up in like 80, 90% of my lines. And once again, I like having a bit of a rotation here. And this spot doesn't stand out for me too much. Like when I'm looking at Giannis, there's some games that are just clear and obvious Giannis games that are soft matchups, low spreads, back and forth. I think it's fine, but it just didn't stand out to me as like a core play for Giannis kind of slate. So 60% max. And then that's pretty much it. None of them are showing up for me too much besides Giannis. And Bobby's showing up in about 8% of my lines. I'm still going to be under the field, unfortunately. And then Lillard, 2% of my lines. Like I said, just other spots I like more, primarily the 2 games right before this one.
Trent did get rolled out like 3 minutes ago.
Nice. All right. And then for the Nuggets, we have no real injury news. They're healthy for the first time in a while. Aaron Gordon is returning. We don't know how much he'll play, but that is a bit of a damper on some of these other players. I'm surprised we have Westbrook still projected for as many minutes as we do, but are you looking at any of these Denver guys?
Yep. So Jokic is the reason that I mentioned on why I'm not as high on Giannis, and he will be a core play for me. His upside is just too crazy of what he's doing so far this season. And I do like this matchup for him, and is one of my favorite games on the slate. So I'll be way over the field on him. I think we have enough viable value pieces to make that work tonight. And then I actually put a 10% min on Westbrook. He's somebody who's been surprising me lately. He's kind of getting back to like old Westbrook, like where he was with Thunder. Not quite there yet, but
close.
I mean, he's putting up like triple-double numbers almost every night now. So I just got to take a shot on him with the form he's in. And then you can always make a case for Jamal Murray, especially at 3% ownership, but just not a priority with some of the other guards we have.
Yeah, I don't know. I understand the thought process behind Westbrook. I just feel like the more Aaron Gordon kind of gets moved in, the less they utilize Westbrook, just because we saw that correlation kind of Gordon moving away, Westbrook moving up and being involved a bit more. But we saw Gordon come back last time, and Westbrook's role didn't really change too much. So I don't think you're wrong. I don't think he's crazy. I just wish he was cheaper and lower owned.
That's for sure.
But for me, Jokic was showing up a bit by himself naturally originally, but now as we get closer to lock, he's not showing up. So I'm putting a 30% min on him to make sure he shows up in 30% of my lines. And then I'm going to let the DS do the rest of the work here. The Nuggets, yeah, we only have Jokic showing up and nobody else. Watson just a little bit. And like I said, I just don't love this game. I don't like picking on Dallas too much. They play at a slow pace. So that's pretty much it. But great matchup for Jokic, like most matchups are. And then also high total game. And so this is the third highest total game on the slate. And so I would much rather you take shots on guys like Murray, Westbrook, Porter Jr. from this game instead of like that one before. And then next up for Dallas, we have, and what I meant by that is like if you have one spot available and you're like, I like these two games or I like these two players and they're from those two games, you can use the game total to kind of help make some of those decisions. But back at it, Kyrie Irving is still questionable, which is huge for this slate. I was getting a little too comfortable, not going to lie there, Brandon. I was like, you know what? I feel like we have this slate in the bag. And then I remembered that Kyrie Irving is questionable. That's huge for this. Luka's out. Dante Exum's out. Who are you looking at for Dallas?
No one, to be honest.
Right.
I mean, Lively is a frustrating player. If Gafford, same with Gafford, like if one of those guys were out, I would maybe take a shot on them. And then even if Kyrie plays, he's not someone who's appealing at that price. Like if he was still in that 8K range, he'd be a little more tempting to play in this kind of game environment. But yeah, this team as a whole, I'm just not a fan at all.
So it's weird. Kyrie at 9,300 feels crazy. We haven't seen him play in a while. Last time we saw him play was he played 37 minutes. We don't even know how much he's going to play if he does play. This is a spot I would typically take a shot on Kyrie, but just because of the injury and him not playing for so long, I don't like it as much. The Nuggets have been struggling a good bit defensively, especially against guards. So that's part of why I was considering the shot, but I can't even talk myself into it at this point. So yeah, ultimately I'm not playing the Mavs, at least at this point. They're not showing up in any of my lines. But if Kyrie Irving gets ruled out, we're looking at Spencer Dinwiddie again at 6,400. We're looking at Grimes at 5,400. And I don't think Clay would be a bad play at 5,700. Do all of those just sound super gross to you, or what do you think?
No, I mean, we know the routine when both Luka and Kyrie are out, so I wouldn't say they'd be like must plays, but they're definitely more viable for sure.
Yeah, I would say they would become close to must plays, especially if we get the news before lock, but it's not looking like we're going to, unfortunately. All right, last game on the slate is my least favorite, but I know some guys who like it a lot, so maybe I'm missing something. Curious to get your thoughts here. For Brooklyn going up against Portland, quite a long list here, and I don't think we've gotten any of the news yet. We have D'Angelo Russell listed as questionable, Cameron Johnson listed as questionable, Nick Claxton listed as questionable, and Ben Simmons questionable. Bojan Bogdanovic has already been out, Melton's been out, Thomas has been out, and yeah, the list goes on. Who are you looking at from Brooklyn, if anybody?
We did the same thing again. 15% men on D'Lo. He was seen at shoot around, so I think he does play. He's still too cheap for what he can do. I mean, as long as this game stays close, he should be able to pay this price off, and love the soft matchup against Portland as well. So as of now, he's the only one I'm taking a shot on. The only other one I would really like.
Yeah, you saw that Paul George news come through.
Oh, no.
Oh, you didn't?
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, Paul George out. Another one.
Jesus.
Don't make it easy.
If Claxton is out, I think that makes Day'Ron Sharpe a great play. He's another guy who's a great points per minute player, and if he sees more minutes, he can definitely pay that 4,200 price tag off. So definitely don't mind if you want to throw like a 10% bet on him just to have some in case Claxton is ruled out. But D'Lo's pretty much my only target here.
Yeah, D'Lo's the only guy I'm aggressively targeting because we saw him at shoot around earlier and because it's a great matchup, a great spot. This game has the lowest or second lowest total on the slate, though, and so I'm not trying to find reasons to play guys from this game, but they're making me think about it. Cam Johnson has a great matchup, great spot against Portland. Problem is he hasn't played in games. And so it's another spot, just like with Kyrie, just like with D'Angelo Russell. These guys have been out for a while. We don't really know how much they're going to play. With Cam, he's priced up enough where I don't really want to take the risk on him in this spot. Whereas D'Lo is cheap enough where I'm willing to take the risk in a really, really good matchup. So that's kind of the thought process here. I don't disagree with anything you said. Sharp is a great play, and if we get that Claxton news in time, I'll have plenty. But unfortunately, I don't think I'll have time tonight to make that change if we get it too late. So we'll see. All right, for the Trailblazers, they are also looking pretty boring, if you ask me. They have Denny Abdia listed as questionable. Jeremy Grant is out. Robert Williams is questionable. Banton is questionable. That Avdia one's pretty big, right? Who are you looking at here?
Couple people actually. So Shaden Sharp is probably my favorite play on this side of the ball.
I thought you were gonna say the entire slate, and I was like, what?
No. Which as of now, he is a core play, but haven't updated and reran with all this news we've been getting. So not sure if he'll still be a core play, but he's somebody I want a good chunk of with how he's playing. Same for Anthony Simons. I have a 20% min on him. I just like this spot quite a bit for both of those guys. And then I did have some Scoot showing up, but I'm sure he's going to drop off once I rerun. So not opposed to him either, but not going to force him in.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't like this game. I'm not gonna lie. I get the Simons and Sharp play. They really help make a balanced build line work if that's what you're going for. I think that's a really solid way of getting different on this slate. But I don't like any of these guys enough to force exposure to them. I would really just be kind of going out of the process. Sharp does show up a good bit for me naturally, though, around 50%. Comfortable with that. Not going to do anything to make that be different. And then Scoot is showing up in about 14% of my lines. Scoot is just stupid cheap at 4,200. But again, he's just cheap. That's it. He is priced appropriately. Where he still has a little bit of upside left. And then Kamara is showing up in about 3% of my lines. So again, just not any situations where I really was excited to force exposure to too many guys besides this Suns, Hawks, and Pelicans, Bulls game. Outside of that, I really just trusted the DS on a lot. Thomas Dye said Reggie Jackson is showing up for him as a core play. Is that
He's
happening
going to
for
be
you
the
at all?
chalk of the slate.
Oh, fun. He's on Philly, right?
Yep. Him and Ricky Council, they'll be very chalky. Both 3K flat.
It is my life. Okay. Let's see. So Reggie Jackson, man, I haven't thought about playing him in years. He hasn't played a lot this year, so that explains it. But yeah, I think we just kind of have to because they don't have a lot of bodies. So I get it. And then Ricky Council. These guys are just 3K and should see minutes. That's it. That's pretty much it.
They're going to be locks for me in my 20 max, both of those guys.
I feel better about Council over Jackson if you were between the two. I just like Council's floor a bit more, and his production is slightly more consistent, and he has shown he has a little bit more upside, where Reggie Jackson has been a little bit more volatile.
I guess you can throw Eric Gordon in that mix too. He's starting as well.
Let me look at the starting lineup.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Let's see what the starting lineup looks like. Paul George is like, Maxi's not going to be out here. I'm not going. I'm not doing this shit. Okay, so we have Reggie Jackson, Eric Gordon, Council, Oubre, and Yabusele. Ooh. That doesn't even look like an actual NBA team. Thunder, yeah, I was like, that spread has to be like 20 plus points. That's actual insanity. Okay, cool. So yeah, that's the Sixers for us. Was there other news we got a little late?
Kyrie is officially in.
Nice. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Now all we need is that Avdia news, and we will be sitting pretty. The other thing, oh yeah, we got the AO's out news.
Yep.
Um,
That
it's
probably won't change too much for me for the Bulls, especially since we have this Philly news as well.
Yeah, if I was 20 maxing, it definitely wouldn't change anything for me because I think it's just a little bit too thin of a play, guys like Gideon White. But if you're playing more than 20 lines, I think Gideon White are guys you should consider just because their minute floor is a bit more consistent with AO out. And their upside in a good spot is just something I now want exposure to with AO gone. So yeah, that's pretty much the only thing I would change there. And Patrick Williams is fine. He just lacks upside.
Yep. Also, if you did not have a lot of expensive studs in your lines, I would make sure you do now because it's way easier to get to them.
Yeah, I would say it's good to have like a rotation here. I think everyone's going to have Giannis and Jokic. That's fine. SGA, I think I probably still would avoid. I think everyone's scared of the blowout here, though, at this point.
Even more so than before. Like, I can't touch SGA.
Yeah, I can understand the argument for it, but I'm not going to do it. And I'm going to have a 5% min on Trey. So it's pretty much for me going to be like Jokic, Giannis, and Trey Young. And then Devin Booker in this kind of like mid to high range. What about you? Who are the studs you're looking at?
Jokic is my top priority, and then Giannis, of course. One more guy I wanted to mention for Philly too, that I'm probably going to make sure I have exposure to, is Jeff Doughton. He should get the backup point guard minutes as well, and if for whatever reason Reggie sucks or something happens with him, he'll get even more run, especially if it gets way out of hand super early. I feel like he would get the run over Reggie. Reggie's just a old guy who bounces around, so I could see him playing more at the end of the game.
Nice. All right. Let's go through some of these questions and kind of see what people have been saying. I've had to skip quite a few just because there were a lot there for a little bit. Let's see. Dayron Sharp, a sharp play. You touched on this a little bit during the show. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, like I said, I'm okay if you want to get some exposure to him now. He's really only in play for me if Claxton gets ruled out, but I don't think we're going to get that news before lock, so kind of a risky play there at his price.
And do you have any thoughts on chances Russell plays?
Oh, yeah, like I said, he was seen at shoot around, so I'm fully expecting him to play.
Is Devin Carter flying off the charts on your sim model?
Yeah, there's no reason to play him now with the value we have on Philly, at least in my opinion.
That's always such a good way of looking at things. It's just there can be plays that were good earlier that are now no longer as good as we get news. And one of the most important things when it comes to DFS is being able to realize it's okay to move past the things you liked before you got that news.
Yep.
Or sometimes it's the opposite, is not forgetting about the plays you liked once you got that news.
Very true.
Harlock said Tyus has been bad lately. Oh, we touched on that one. What's your highest exposure? We touched on that one. What are your favorite single entry plays at each position? I guess we did this yesterday and started a trend. Brandon, do you want to touch on your favorites, or do you want me to go first and I can go and then you can go after?
I can go really quick.
Okay.
So point guard, Reggie Jackson. I guess you can. I'll do Reggie Jackson / De'Aaron Fox. Shooting guard, I think it's still Shaedon Sharp for me. Mm-hmm. Small forward, Ricky Council. Power forward, probably Giannis. And then center, of course, is Jokic.
Yep. And y'all, I'm sorry, the DS it will update while I'm live, but it won't really always update my exposures and runs live. It's weird. So I don't have like the updated Sixers news, but I'm pretty sure I agree with everything Brandon said. Besides, add Fox in there a little bit more where appropriate. All right. Yeah, Dixon, you're not wrong, man. Yeah, we'll try and get you there, Darius. Appreciate the support, y'all. Thomas Dye said, "Are you guys capping Matherin at all? Did you, Brandon?"
I only have 5% now.
Damn. Dang. All right. I only have 11%, and that's not even with the Sixers value coming in yet. So I don't think there's going to be a need to cap him at this point. Crazy
Nope.
how things change.
Yep.
Any look at Herter for a min punt
Nope.
play tonight? I don't think there's going to be a need with the Sixers value at this point.
Any 3K guards, especially if they're guards, like any other 3K guards that you had in mind, like if they're not Philly, at least in my opinion, I'm not playing them. They're not worth it.
Yeah,
There's no other 3K guard that's going to see as much run as these guys are.
Yeah, this is also part of why we save some of the questions for the end, because if you ask or if we answer all the questions during the show, sometimes by the end, we already have a better answer. Dixon said, "Can you stack Zion and CJ, or will they cannibalize each other? Also, can this be a blowout?" Any game can be a blowout, Dixon. But typically, yeah, you can stack them together. It's never something I'm against. But I'm just not playing Zion today because of the lack of minutes he's been receiving. Do you agree with that, Brandon, or do you feel differently?
Yeah. I don't think I could do that tonight.
Yeah. 4,400 left. Any suggestions from Thomas Dye?
Let me look. Oof. I guess Bogdanovich. Bogdanovich or Scoot.
Bogdanovich, Ellis is fine. Toppin. I think Bogdanovich is still the best in this range, but those are some other options too. All right, let's see. Why not play Reggie's backup? Ricky for president. I see you, OG. Thoughts on KD Booker stack? Again, not a situation I would also like go to avoid. I just don't like them together today. How do you feel, Brandon?
Yep, agreed. I would play one or the other.
Yeah, for me, I am prioritizing Book. I would swap out KD, but they're fine either way. Who would I swap out for KD at 9,100? I mean, if it's in the util spot, you could look at Murray or Vucevic or Booker. But if you already have Booker, then I would probably actually just go Levine. TBH. No need for 4,400. We have enough now. Yeah, Thomas. Good point. Good point. Pretty Ricky is what we would call him. Yeah. I don't think I'm going to get as much Vic as much now either with the value. He's just not as necessary. I feel like we're just copying out all these value plays now. But yeah, the name of the game now that we have value is really just prioritizing your mid-range, like 6K up and seeing who do you want to play, because now you can play whoever you want, and it's just what's the right combination. We're no longer really trying to play the value game like we were earlier. Yep. Speaking of, now I probably will have actual core plays. So let's wrap this show up so I can post those, and we will be good to go. Brandon, anything else you want to say before we hop off?
No, I was going to say, if you're a member, just stay tuned in the Discord. I'm currently trying to get my line situated so I can post my updated core.
Sweet. All right. See y'all later. We will not have any more shows this week, unfortunately. I'll be in the office tomorrow and Thursday since I decided to not go today. And then next week, we should have shows whenever I'm not in the office. So probably Monday and Wednesday. So sweet. Until next time. Peace out.